All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. I want you to completely reframe everything you thought you knew about Tesla. We need to forget the whole they just make cars thing. Today, we're popping the hood on the massive, interconnected economic engines that are actually driving its valuation and long-term strategy. This question right here, it's the beating heart of Richard Turnick's 2026 Stellaris Meta-Framework report. It really challenges us. What actually happens when a company stacks multiple, maturing technologies on top of each other? Usually, a business gets lucky if they can successfully ride just one technological wave. But Turnick's analysis asks us to picture the sheer scale of a single entity operating across four massive economic curves at the exact same time. To really grasp how crazy this is, we've got to establish the ground rules, mainly Wright's law. This isn't just some abstract theory, it's the actual mathematical engine driving the massive cost descent we're looking at today. Basically, Wright's law proves that mass production mathematically forces tech to get cheaper. Every single time you double your total production, unit cost falls by a very predictable percentage. It's like this relentless gravitational pull on prices. So think of these four massive industries as individual building blocks. Literally picture them as separate foundational pieces of a giant fortress that Tesla is simultaneously building and disrupting. Energy infrastructure, EV transportation, battery storage, and physical AI. The report pegs each of these blocks as a disruption threshold. That's the exact magic moment where new tech mathematically gets cheaper than the old fossil fuel equivalent, and doing it completely subsidy-free. Let's snap that first building block into place, battery storage. We actually saw a massive disruption threshold crossed back in 2024. That was the year lithium iron phosphate battery costs just plummeted to $53 per kilowatt hour. At that specific price point, the math totally flipped. Building new natural gas peaking plants simply stopped making economic sense. Wright's law drove the cost down so hard and so fast that the forecasting debates literally ended overnight. And the Megapack perfectly illustrates this physical advantage in the real world. The Megapack 3 crams 28% more capacity into the exact same footprint. And because it's pre-integrated, it slashes construction costs by 40%. This is exactly why stakeholders care. We aren't talking about some cute pilot program here. This is a massive commercial reality, backed by a $29 billion contract backlog as of early 2026. I mean, capital of that scale simply doesn't move unless the long-term economics are totally bulletproof. Dropping in our second building block now, transportation. Just look at the raw cost comparison for commercial freight. A standard 500-mile trip in a diesel semi is going to burn up to $500 just in fuel alone. But that exact same trip in a Tesla semi, you're looking at between $100 and $200 in electricity. The electric drivetrain is way simpler, it breaks down less often, and it definitively wins out on the total cost of ownership. Now, if you want to unlock autonomous transportation, the data requirement is just monumental. Getting software to handle 95% of driving, that's relatively easy. It's that final 5%, those super rare, one in a million weird edge cases that form the ultimate bottleneck. While competitors are out there relying on tiny geofence test fleets, Tesla bypasses all of that. They leverage 1.1 million consumer vehicles to suck in billions of miles of real-world human interventions. And that immense data advantage translated directly into a commercial rollout. By Q2 of 2026, the completely unsupervised Cybercab totally eliminated the human driver wage, which, let's be real, has always been the absolute biggest cost floor in the ride-hailing business. By rolling out across major Texas cities like Austin and Dallas, the Cybercab is now riding its own descending cost curve. Every time that fleet doubles, the cost per mile gets pushed even lower. Finally, the fourth block clicks into place, physical AI. According to the report, as Optimus humanoid robots began replacing human labor in manufacturing, it fundamentally restructured the entire cost floor of physical production. Taking the Fremont floor and converting it to pump out 1 million humanoid robots a year? That isn't just some facility upgrade. It establishes the sheer, mind-boggling volume needed for Wright's law to target cost parity with manufacturing wages globally. Section 2, the integration stack, locking the blocks together. So, the architecture of this fortress relies on 3 interlocking feedback loops that create massive stakeholder advantage. The first one is the information loop. Basically, real-world data from millions of cars and factory robots flows right into a centralized system to improve their AI models. These increasingly brilliant models then dictate exactly where capital should be deployed to get the absolute maximum return. The second loop is the capital loop. The massive revenue generated from EVs and energy storage, It doesn't just sit there idle in a bank account. It directly funds the factory expansions, the next-gen vehicle lines, and the absolutely staggering compute infrastructure needed to scale. It's a cycle. EV revenue builds the factory lowers battery costs, and those cheaper batteries make grid storage incredibly viable. Then we have the third one, the efficiency loop. As physical AI and massive factories scale up, unit costs plummet. Yup, that's Wright's law in action all over again. When your production costs drop, your profit margins naturally expand. And that expanded profit feeds right back into the capital loop, violently accelerating the entire cycle all over again. The Gigafactory is basically the physical embodiment of this efficiency loop. It is quite literally a factory designed from the ground up to execute Wright's law. By concentrating massive production volume under one single roof, Tesla forcefully drives down the learning curve cost. Lower costs mean higher sales volume, which pushes those cumulative doublings even faster. It creates just an incredible sustainable advantage for stakeholders. Meanwhile, the Cortex supercluster acts as the brain. Housing 100,000 GPUs, this $5 billion wholly owned infrastructure completely bypasses the crazy, exorbitant, recurring costs of renting cloud compute. And just like their physical products, by actually owning the hardware outright, Tesla forces their compute and AI training costs down a predictable cost curve. This lets them iterate their end-to-end neural net continuously without breaking the bank. This whole setup is what generates a truly sustainable competitive advantage for stakeholders. Think about it. While competitors are stuck building single, isolated components, like Waymo focusing just on software or CATL just doing batteries, Tesla has built an integrated fortress. They have unified control of energy, data, compute, and manufacturing. If a competitor even wants to try and catch up, they have to build all 4 layers from scratch, simultaneously. Good luck with that. The report also neutrally observes how this integration actually played out during the geopolitical conflicts of 2026. As fossil fuel supply chains faced massive stress globally, market economics had already established Tesla's stack as vital, independent, domestic infrastructure. And this wasn't through government mandates or anything, but simply because a system powered by domestic solar, batteries, and AI kept functioning securely even when global maritime choke points totally failed. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. How can traditional extraction-based industries possibly defend against a fortress built entirely on the undeniable mathematics of Wright's law? You can't exactly lobby or pass a bill against the laws of physics, right? They didn't just build a better car. They built a mathematical machine that literally accelerates its own advantage. And honestly, that is what makes this multi-threshold fortress so utterly fascinating to watch unfold. Let that sink in.